I tweeted, rumor has it, actress Millie Bobby Brown can fit 37 pistachios up her...
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that too. It's not your fault.
And it got like a record 8 likes on the tweet.
I'm Claire Parker.
And I'm Ashley Hamilton. Welcome to Memoir Practice.
We are the self-described foremost celebrity memoir experts in the world. And because of that, we are here to help the next generation of celebrities write their memoirs.
We are here to edit in real time and make sure that there are no more bad memoirs entering the world.
We are concerned citizens, we are avid readers, and we are here to whistleblow bad books.
So, welcome, Chi Osse.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on. I love that, I don't know if that was rehearsed or just the unison of it all.
We've been
really
speaking
beautiful start.
in unison for years.
Yeah. How long have you guys known each other for? Actually,
you know what? Let me ask you.
Yeah, we're interviewing you.
Okay.
I almost want to ask if this would be like a pre-presidential run memoir or a post, because I feel like people come with both. You know what I mean?
It would be like a never run for presidential run memoir, which I think would do better, right? I think it would be more honest and have the full picture of the story, and maybe a reason why I wouldn't run for presidential office, which seems like the second worst job in the world.
Yeah. What's the worst?
Mayor of New York City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Up until this point, if you were to describe your life in a sentence, what would you say?
This is the story about a boy who's been told that he's a little bit too extra, but who wants to be not enough?
I love that.
That's really good. That's really good. I can't wait to parse through it.
Does that get the memoir
we'll
practice
see.
check?
Because sometimes people don't really know who they are.
Yeah.
And we find out at the end of the
But
memoir.
that's fun though, right? Like them figuring it
yeah.
out throughout the memoir, or like them having a wrong picture of themselves. And
Well, you hope by the time you get to publishing,
Yeah.
you've figured it out.
Wait, who tells them who they are?
Us.
You. Yeah, okay.
Well, let's start at the beginning of your story.
Sure.
What would you say is like the formative first memory of your life?
I remember this distinct conversation I had with my dad when I was about 5. And I believe that I got into a fight with my little brother about toys at the time. And, he was able to like play with my toys in a very rambunctious and destructive way. And I really found that to be upsetting for me. And I remember saying, that's not fair to my dad. And like the one thing that I always remember throughout my entire life is that he said, life's not fair. Is it fair that the lions eat the zebras? And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I guess not, but I distinctly remember that analogy. And I think it's really shaped a lot of my being, not necessarily in terms of taking that sentence at face value in terms of life not being fair, but wanting to confront it and be like, no, it should be. And it should be for me.
Yeah. And like those zebras should be able to just hang out.
Exactly.
And so should I.
Totally.
And do you feel in your life, are you working within an unfair system and acknowledging that it can't be changed, or do you think it can be?
Absolutely. I think I'm working in a system that's unfair that I think can be made to be fair. I don't love when someone says no, but when someone says no, I love to prove them wrong.
I love it. You're like, not ethically or morally, but just because I was told no.
Yeah, I think I'm authentically I think that's the brat of a child that is still screaming and clawing through just because my toys were being destroyed.
A brat for a better world.
A brat for a better world.
Well,
I
first
know.
it was your toys being destroyed, and now it's the country. So
Yeah, that's real.
How did this affect you in school?
Humor was something that I think helped me navigate through high school and school in general, especially, prior to coming out and then coming out. And, I realized throughout high school that mantra of life not being fair mixed in with my humor resulted in me either becoming the class clown in some situations in school, while also finding out later that I ended up bullying people in school, or not. I don't think it was traditional bullying. I think it was jokes that were about people that hurt their feelings. Is that bullying?
I have that problem to this day. No, sometimes you think we're laughing together, but they're laughing because if they don't, they'll cry.
No, I thought we were all in on the joke. And if someone joked about me, I would take ha ha ha.
And then sometimes you go home and you go, that was a little tough. But they weren't trying to hurt my feelings.
The intention wasn't with malice.
Yes.
If that makes sense. I thought people were in on the joke. And then sometimes, when multiple people laugh, you never hear who's not laughing.
Totally.
And it might be the person who's the joke's about. So I think...
Maybe. It's hard to know. I've never checked.
maybe that came from like a place of insecurity. Maybe that came from just like my idea of not taking life too seriously. Maybe I just wanted to bring joy into people's lives, and maybe it brought some joy into some people's lives, maybe not everybody's.
You can't apologize for being generous.
You can't apologize. I say
and
that all the
sharing
time.
your gift of laughter.
I think so
Also,
too.
when you're the kid who's extra, when you're the kid who's too
Yeah.
much, a lot of times when you're like bursting with energy, if you
Yeah.
can make people laugh, it's like a less scolded form of outburst.
Absolutely. In my school, I grew up in New York City, and the entire grade had to go on experiential education trips. I ended up going on the backpacking trip. It was in the winter. We had to backpack 9 miles in like Tuxedo, New York. This was a very difficult trip. It was that whole like leave no trace type thing. So like if you use the bathroom, like save the toilet paper. Like a lot of beans were eaten on the trip.
And then you're saving all that toilet paper.
Saving all the toilet. It was something that I think would make a lot of teenage boys and girls like uncomfortable. But, me being myself really wanted to have fun. And I think I was just making jokes throughout the trip. And I think there was like one kid that, ended up being the butt of the joke a little bit. I also went to a Quaker school. So in the middle of the trip, we had to all sit in silence to listen to like nature, but it was like the winter. So there were like no birds chirping. It was like a really still day. So like hardly any like trees rustling. And I think he said something about the jokes and I was like, okay, I'll back off a little bit. And we were sitting in silence in a circle with like the teachers. It's quiet as fuck. And he lets out like the most like traditional sound effect fart that you've ever heard in your life.
But from his bottom.
No, from his ass, yeah.
I thought maybe he was making a joke.
No.
No. He was making a fart.
He didn't mean to. And we were eating legumes and stuff. So he let it out and like everyone tried to keep it cool. And like the teacher was getting involved, like, it's natural, like da 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 da. And I'm like spitting, like crying, laughing.
When you're handed something like that, you're but a kid.
Is that bullying to
that
laugh at a
bullying?
fart though? Like, okay, I don't
During
think so.
silent time, if anything,
Yeah.
I feel
Oh
he
my
was setting you
God.
guys up.
Yeah,
I think you guys were the victims.
I think I was a victim.
It actually would have been bullying to not laugh at it because that would have been
Yeah.
denying his existence.
Yeah.
So you were running for class offices.
Yeah.
Walk us through it.
Yeah.
What did you decide to run for and what was it like to run these campaigns?
So, like, it was a Quaker school, so they never called anything like class president or class. It was called like head of agenda. Head of like you set the agenda or like alumni service. It was like something like that. And I always went towards agenda because that was the position where you got to speak the most.
Yeah.
I would be like going around the cafeteria asking people for like their vote and stuff, and they'd be like, yeah. And you think you got it in your head, but like then you realize as like the ballot comes out that like people were really just lying to your face. So I think I ended up realizing that that was amalgamation maybe of what took place on the XED trip.
Yeah.
Maybe
The
not.
fart that
Maybe
brought you down.
The fart that brought me down. That was my James Comey scandal.
So at the time, you felt like being chatty and like fun
Yeah.
was not serving you, I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
Yeah.
But would you say those qualities serve you now?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I still think they served me
Yeah.
in school. Like
Yeah.
maybe not in like the traditional sense of like not getting me the win or not being able to speak at graduation, right? I'm not mad, but I think they made me happy, right? And helped me like deal with coming out, helped me deal with my parents' separation, helped me deal with the college process. They were definitely healthy or not coping mechanisms that got me to where I am today.
So at one point you were thinking about becoming an actor or going into acting.
Yeah. This was like a childhood dream. My mom like signed my brothers and I up for like a modeling agency. It was called Generation. And then I was in like Wilhelmina Kids and stuff. And I would
That's
go
the
to
top
like
one.
Yeah, I thought it was
You
like
and Lindsay Lohan.
yeah, I thought it was like I like kept my like comp card, but I would go to like different go-sees and stuff. I was in a couple things. It brought out this like other part of me of performance, right, and humor, and it definitely was a dream that went away the older I got and when acne hit. But yeah, it's a little part of my life. Maybe it like made me more comfortable in front of screens and speaking to other people and bringing me out of shyness. I'm not a shy person, I don't believe.
So then you moved into politics professionally after not being class agenda maker.
Yeah, what gave you the confidence?
You said, let me talk to the city of New York and see
Yeah.
what they have to say about this.
I ended up going to college in California, was there for 3 semesters. My dad passed away, moved back to New York thinking I was taking some time off from school. Ended up working in restaurants, ended up working in nightlife as a promoter and party producer. Didn't end up going back to school. Then the pandemic hit, out of a job. Obviously, when the George Floyd stuff took place, I left my quarantine to attend a protest. And, I was documenting what was happening there, the violence that was enacted against protesters by the police. And instead of going back into my quarantine, I started going out every single day to protest and was speaking up at these protests to form this activist collective that started leading some of those protests. And we started to hone in our activism and attention on the powers of the city government and the power that they have in approving, negotiating our over $110 billion budget. And this money goes to our schools and our streets and our police department, which we were calling for divestment from and a reallocation into other methods of safety. And, during this time, it was like an amalgamation of all of who I am, right? This interest in politics and this feeling of shit not being fair, this comfortability of speaking in front of people, and then also this like human, cultural, even maybe humorous approach to, what was going on that I think drew some people towards, me and what, we were doing at the time. And when I saw that my city council member didn't vote on that budget, I had enough and I said, fuck it, let me run for office myself.
And how do you get a team together?
I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. And it was a rambunctious group of 20-something-year-olds who I grew up with, who I've worked with in nightlife, and we really just figured it out, right? We looked up how to run for city council, learned how to fundraise, and put together a campaign that ran against a 40-year Democratic establishment, and ended up winning and becoming the youngest city council member in New York City and first Gen Z elected in New York State.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds random, but it all funnels into the same thing where the jobs you were doing, the people you were around are people who knew how to package a campaign. Working in nightlife, you know how to get people to places.
I was working at public hotels. That was one of the places have you guys been there?
Yes.
If you can get someone to public hotels on a winter night on a Tuesday, I think you can get people to polls. You can get people to polls. No, absolutely.
So I see how your personality got you into politics. How has being in politics shaped your personality? Do you feel it's forced you to tamp down at all?
Not at all. I think
You've been emboldened.
I think it's helped me express myself even more. I think politics changes a lot of people, and I think, and I guess you have to sound humble sometimes as an elected official, but I think I've changed politics, right? At least on a local level.
Has it been all smooth sailing since you entered the office?
Not at all. And I think prior to running for office, even that moment, on one hand, I said, I'm going to be my authentic self and bring whoever I am and whatever, blah, 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 blah. And on the other hand, I was like, oh my God, well, I've lived a life and, I've said some things.
Cracked some jokes.
I've cracked some jokes.
And people don't all get jokes.
As I've learned. I was running a really fierce campaign. It was 2 weeks before the election. And I think my competitors started taking me a bit seriously, more seriously than they ever have. There's something in politics, as you will probably know, your opponents can spend money on opposition research to find things about you. First and foremost, I changed my Twitter account, my personal Twitter account that I've had since 2014, and just changed the name in the bio and decided to use it as my candidate account to run for office.
Hubris.
And I had 600 followers at the time. I was probably I don't want to lose those followers.
We've been there where we're what are we going to leave behind? Our 22 listeners? How can we rebuild from there?
No, restart that shit, private the account, or delete the previous one before. That's rule number one. We were running the race and things were running smoothly. And I remember getting a call from the Post. And they're like, so we found some of your tweets. Would you like to comment on them? Millie Bobby Brown, if you're listening, I did not mean this at all. I love all of your work. And I tweeted, rumor has it, actress Millie Bobby Brown can fit 37 pistachios up her...
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that too. It's not your fault.
And it got a record 8 likes on the tweet. And I thought it was one of my best tweets at the time.
Yeah, you can delete that.
That's how it came to be, right? That's how it came to be. And then I was pedophile, this and that, why are you...
Millie Bobby Brown, man, what she gets poor men involved in. Stop being under 18, Millie. You're getting a lot of people in trouble.
No comment on that. But I deeply apologize to the Bobby Brown Bon Jovi estate.
DiGiorno, yeah.
the DiGiorno estate. But all my opponents were coming at me with the tweet and this is despicable. Yeah, that was my political scandal, and it really brought me down. So not every joke has brought me somewhere great.
I think you have to leave the tweet in. I think if that's like your biggest political trauma, maybe you wait for bigger political trauma.
That's not my biggest political trauma. We have these like hearings at City Hall where we'll like question different agencies, especially during the budget season, about how much money they're spending on different contractors and whatnot. And I was in a Parks Committee hearing with the Parks Commissioner, and she was talking about, all of this money that was going to waste. And there was one specific contractor that the city uses. The company is called Dragonetti. I think it's an Italian name. And they have fraudulently stolen, I think, millions of dollars from the city.
But that's one of the perks, right? If you work for the city, isn't that like kind of like...
Get some of those Dragonettis on the Housewives.
So, no comment on that either. I heard it when we were all talking about it as like Dragon Eddie or something. And I was like, that name should have been a red flag, Commissioner, when you heard it. Like, next thing I know, the Italian caucus wrote a statement condemning my remarks as racist, anti-Italian, my past remarks about Christopher Columbus that they disagreed with. And it erupted on Twitter, and then the Daily News, they called me and they were like, we just want some like insight on what happened. And I was like, I told them exactly what happened. Wrote the story in a completely different way.
Millie Bobby Brown did a press conference.
Literally, she's like, I'm a half Italian.
Yeah, I'm a married Italian man.
I'm related to Christopher Columbus.
Bon Jovi.
The Daily News put me on the front page, like saying council member under fire over slur. Over slur. Slur. They called me a slur slayer, like I was slaying slurs.
So you were slaying Dragonettis.
That's literally why they said that. Oh my God, it clicks. Getting death threats from people sounding like they're from a famous HBO show to our office.
Oh, I see what's happening here.
Letters written to us.
Euphoria.
Yeah.
Exactly. The worst part wasn't the death threats. It was the photo that they used on the front page. That was my only cover. That's still to this day my only cover.
I mean, these are the roadblocks that come with challenging the status quo, trying to make life more fair. And
yeah, is anything more fair?
So, all of this conversation has been very fun and silly. And I think you've heard my missteps and all. But, there's been some victories that I've gotten out of being myself.
I mean, you've gone head to head with the scariest community of all in New York City.
The real estate industry and brokers, New York City brokers. I was looking for an apartment in my second year of the council. I was living at home before. And I was looking for an apartment, and I was like, damn, this shit people really were right. This shit is expensive.
The
rent is high. The rent is high. Like politicians are so like out of touch, and they're like, how much is the price of eggs? But no, I knew rent was expensive, but I was like, oh, damn. And like the broker fees were really insane, like in my search for finding an apartment. And I was like, someone needs to do something about this. And I was like, well, I have power, and I think this is something I want to take on because not only have I dealt with this, but so many other people are dealing with this too. And it's fucking unfair. And I introduced a bill called the FAIR Act, which stands for Fairness in Apartment Rental Expenses. And the goal was to shift the responsibility on whoever hires a broker within the city of New York would pay a broker fee, whether landlord or tenant. And that would help tenants a lot because who hires a broker when looking for an apartment,
unless you want someone to come and do a good job.
Exactly.
And then you want to make sure the person you're hiring
is someone you trust, that you've like interviewed, that like, you've given a specific vision of an apartment, your budget, whatever, not like some person who's like maybe not even a licensed broker. And, over the past couple of years, I've been confronting the real estate lobby, which is a multi-million, if not billion-dollar lobby.
I'd say trillion.
I'd say gazillion.
Yeah.
We haven't even invented numbers high enough.
The Empire State Building alone is so big.
And they put everything to try to beat my efforts here. And they were getting council members threatening to primary them and knock them out of their races, spending money on ads and whatever to like dispel like what the intention behind this bill was. But I've used every tool in my pocket to try to get this bill past the finish line. And we beat the real estate lobby. And
that's crazy.
I think the thing that I'm most proud of with this fight is how authentic I was in this specific moment of like political organizing.
Wow.
The thing is, when you're told you're too much, it's just going against the status quo, but you have to go against the status quo to change things.
Yeah.
Like if you accept what you're told, then you're going to stay the same forever.
they really were close to beating us at multiple points, right? They killed the bill in the first time we introduced it. They got people to take their names off the bill.
They're bullies.
They are bullies,
They are bullies.
Yeah.
And they've never come up against the boy who was too extra.
Exactly. And, if you were a bully, then what's another bully to you?
Yeah.
We need more bullies.
We really do. The Democratic
Party needs more bullies.
Toothless.
Yeah, the Democratic Party needs more bullies.
Well, thank God you're here. Can I say something that goes against, I think, what my normal opinion is? Because I always am like, don't write a memoir until you're 80. I do wonder if you writing like in early stages of the career memoir and then a follow-up down the line.
Yeah.
And I wonder if within the Democratic Party, we need people to know like you could start doing things.
And for people to hear it now. Rather than 20 years.
Like it's kind of a timely message.
Yeah.
No, I think the Democrats should wait a little bit and see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. 20 years.
Yeah.
I think in terms of your story, the boy who was told he was too extra, but then who wants to not be enough? I think this book is cruising right down that path.
I have one.
A title?
Chi, not cheesy. You like it? Okay.
That's so cheesy, though.
Okay,
But no. You didn't hear the title of it. I said Chi.
Not cheesy.
Not cheesy.
But that's cheesy.
What about a bunch of... I have a pun.
Okay.
Okay, ready? We go stars and stripes. We reclaim patriotism. Osse, can you see?
You guys, that's so ridiculous that you just said that. Because, like, my name on my senior Facebook account was, like, Osse, can you chi? Because, like, people
Oh
could
my
never,
God,
like,
that's really good.
right? My first year of being in office, like, that's how I would introduce myself on the microphone because people could never pronounce my name.
That's actually, wow.
It's so
I kind of
cheesy,
nailed
though.
it.
That's cheesy, right?
Yeah, and mine was specifically not cheesy, so it's like interesting.
So which one do you want?
I think Osse, can you see? Osse, can you cheat? Like maybe people will be
Might
like,
be
"What
a
the fuck?"
step
Like
too far,
a step too far.
Yeah.
So I like that that edit of Osse, can you see?
That's over here.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be so funny if you do run for president, and then you're like, well, my first memoir was mostly about a Millie Bobby Brown tweet.
Yeah, I know.